Howdy folks, I'm Brian, and here's some Reddit. And here's Amber from Reading Reddit with Amber. I'll leave a link down below. Let's get started. Our first story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Hiding Baby Food from My Girlfriend? My girlfriend was getting ready to feed our 6-month-old, and she put the food down to run to the bathroom. When she came back, she asked where the food was, and the spoon went. I shrugged my shoulders. I put it in the cabinet, and I laughed a little bit to myself as she looked all over for it. When she went to the bathroom to see if she had set it down there, I pulled it out of the cabinet and put it on the counter. My girlfriend came back in and looked around again and must have missed it on the counter. So I pointed it out, and she said, "What? I swore I looked here already." She kept asking if I moved it, and I kept saying no. She sat down and started feeding her son and randomly started crying, I wonder why, and saying how mentally exhausted she was. Wow, way to gaslight your girlfriend there. I started rubbing her back and confessed that I had hidden the baby food. She got up immediately and left our son there in the high chair. I finished feeding him, and I grabbed him and asked her what her problem was. She started going off about how it wasn't funny, and all I did was make her feel like she was losing her mind even more. I felt bad and told her it was just a joke, and she kept saying it wasn't funny and to leave her alone. She was honestly pretty rude about it, and wouldn't even talk to me much since then. I feel bad since she was crying, but I also feel like she was being very rude and considering it was just a joke. Am I a jerk?
Yes.
I think it was safe to say that you're completely in the wrong here. Don't gaslight your girlfriend. I mean, don't hide things on her and then be like, oh no, ha ha ha, you're just losing your mind. I mean, it's good that you eventually came clean about it, but for crying out loud, man, your girlfriend is completely exhausted. She's taking care of this baby, and then you come in and are like, oh, hey, I'm just going to make you think you're losing your mind. That is never a cool thing to do to someone.
No.
So, do you have anything you want to add?
I think you said it pretty well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, jokes are only funny when everyone's in on them.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, she's already under a lot of stress and pressure, and like maybe in like a completely normal situation where, you know, people aren't under intense stress and pressure, like I could see something like this maybe not being funny still, but like not such a jerky thing. But again, she's under so much stress, she feels like she's losing her mind, and you just are like contributing to that.
Yeah. Our next story is titled,
Am I the jerk for keeping a crude trophy my brothers and friends gave me to celebrate my wife's pregnancy? This one already sounds icky. I am the youngest of 4 brothers, and they all already have kids, so they've been teasing me for years about when I was going to, in their words, man up and get the job done. It was all in good fun and never meant in a mean-spirited way. They were really excited for me when my wife and I announced that we were going to be parents, so they and my 2 closest friends went in together and got me a trophy to commemorate the announcement. It's a large male anatomy part with an engraving that says, "This effing trophy is awarded to my name in commemoration of a successful impregnation of wife's name in AD 2020. Mission accomplished." That was just gross to read. I think it's hilarious and clever on their part, but my wife doesn't like it and wants me to give it back or throw it away. I told her that she's being too sensitive and knows that my brothers and friends are just congratulating me in their own way. It doesn't have anything to do with her. It literally has her name on it. But she feels like it's disrespectful and gross, and that by keeping it and siding with them, I am treating her not like a wife and partner, but like a baby maker only. She says that it makes her feel devalued and like maybe I don't feel we are equal partners in this.
Why would she feel that way? I don't understand.
I honestly think that it's a bizarre way to look at this and strange to read that much into a gag gift, no pun intended. It's not meant to be a commentary on anything. It's meant to be crude and funny. I kept it in my office and away from anywhere that we might have guests, so I don't see the harm in keeping it. It's not like I'm flaunting it or she has to look at it. I can't believe that she's so bothered just by it being somewhere in the house to the point that she's upset and thinks I'm the jerk for keeping it. I don't like fighting about this during what should be a happy time for us, but I think she's overreacting, and I don't see how any of this is about our relationship or how I feel about her. It's just a stupid gift. Do you think I am the jerk? When you say it's not about your wife, that is very much not true. It literally has her name on the trophy, and it's literally talking about an event you were both part of, and it is kind of dehumanizing. Like it says, in commemoration of a successful impregnation of the wife. Like, she's just there to receive, your stuff, and has no, active part in this at all. Like, she's the one who's going to be carrying the baby inside her uterus this whole time. It's crude, and not everyone likes crude humor. I'm not a fan of crude humor. And so while it's fine if people like it, if someone were to do something like this to me, I'd be really grossed out by it because it's not my style of humor, and I wouldn't want my body talked about in that way.
Yeah, so I really think that this was just really in poor taste. And I mean, like you said, I think this was just very dehumanizing. And I think what she probably feels like is that you're basically treating her like she is a baby maker. And that's what she said. And the thing is that you may not be offended by this, but your wife is clearly offended by this. And you don't get to decide whose feelings you hurt. And so you've hurt her feelings. And the thing is that you are trying to act like, well, it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't matter that I've hurt her feelings. This is really making her feel uncomfortable, and it's making her feel like you don't respect her as a person. So again, I think that you are a jerk here, and I think that you should reconsider, having this trophy if it makes her feel so uncomfortable and makes her feel like she's being dehumanized. It would be different if she was all about this and enjoyed it. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Our next letter is titled, Will I Be a Jerk If I Give My Family Self-Help Books for Christmas? It's Christmas season, folks, and we're going to have some gifts. What better way to say Merry Christmas than pull yourself up by your bootstraps? This is what my husband, a 24-year-old male, wants to do for Christmas this year. Instead of getting his siblings materialistic, shallow gifts this year for Christmas, my husband wants to get his siblings, 27, 29, and 21, books to help them better themselves. He said he would pick each book for each sibling based on what he thinks they need, and write a letter explaining his good intentions. Nothing could go wrong here.
No, nothing.
Nothing could go wrong at all. Good intentions for the gift because he genuinely wants them to identify the flaws with themselves and become better, happier people. Okay, I'm going to stop right here. Unsolicited advice is never welcome. Unless his siblings are actively out there saying, look, I'm really having a hard time. Is there anything you think I should do to help myself here? This is not going to go over well. This is going to go over about as well as a train wreck and a dumpster fire and a train wreck as a dumpster fire. Would he be the jerk if he did this? Oh, well, I guess that's the end of the letter there. Edit. None of his siblings that I know of have ever expressed or discussed any flaws that they are working on or want to work on. Also, he hasn't said exactly what books would be on, but I'm going to assume they are deeper issues. One of his sisters is very stubborn and has pretty bad communication skills. Well, it sounds like your husband does as well. When she's mad, she just cuts a person off until both have forgotten about it and she just blows over. This is the kind of the classic case of kind of examine your own faults and your own problems before telling people how they should handle their problems. It sounds like your husband is the kind of person who thinks he knows what's best for people, and rarely do people like that actually know what is wrong with other people. I would seriously not consider not doing this. Yeah. And this is going to ruin Christmas. This is going to make Christmas not fun, and it's going to seriously damage the relationship even further. If his sister is already like this, she is going to cut you off because you gave her a stupid self-help book for Christmas. I mean, this is just, surely you can see this coming. So no, I would not recommend this. I do not suggest this. What do you think, Amber?
I agree with everything you said. I mean, if he thinks that his siblings have these major flaws and wants to identify them in some way, Christmas is not the time and place to do this. Like, that's the kind of thing you have a sit-down conversation about. You say, hey, I've noticed that when you get mad, you cut me off and just kind of cut contact until it all blows over. And I don't like how that feels. You don't give a passive-aggressive self-help book at Christmas. That will not go well at all.
Yeah, the passive-aggressive part, especially, yeah.
Our next story is, am I the jerk for not disciplining my kids after they egged the neighbor's house? This already sounds bad. Hello, first-time poster. I just find the sub so fascinating and thought I'd post my own story that happened pretty recently. My husband and I have 3 kids, 13-year-old male, 12-year-old female, and 9-year-old male. This story involves our neighbors who moved in about a year ago. We have tried to be friendly, but what can I say? They don't want to be bothered. It's this Indian couple with a son that is the same age as my youngest son. When they moved in, I brought over a thing of brownies that I baked. They flat out refused to take them and looked irritated that I came over with them. My husband and I have tried to make conversation if we ever see them, but they are barely ever outside of their house. We never see them come and go either. It's strange. There was another incident where their son was talking to our son in our yard, and the mom came out yelling at him to get back in their own yard. I called out that it was okay, and she just yelled for him to come back. Here's the big incident in question. My daughter and youngest son were out walking with our husky down the block like they do most nights. I was outside watering plants when I hear my son scream and the dog start barking. I run over to see my daughter arguing with the neighbor man. Apparently he was walking down the sidewalk past them when our dog jumped on him. Our dog is the sweetest baby in the whole world. She just gets excited sometimes and can be a jumper. He started freaking out at me now, claiming that he was going to call the police on us because our dog attacked him, and that I am responsible because I let my 2 children walk her when they can't control her. He even made a comment about the police making us put her down, which made my son very upset. One night I was coming home from my girlfriend's place when I noticed said neighbor's house was caked in eggs. Windows, car, garage door, everything. I went in to talk to my daughter, who can't hide anything to save her life. She caved early on and admitted it was her and my oldest son with a couple of friends. I smirked, said what goes around comes around, and walked away. Am I the jerk for this? Yes.
Wow.
I understand that it's frustrating that they're not very social, but not everyone is a very social person. And sometimes people are just guarded, and that doesn't make them bad people. It just means that they may not be the most social. If someone were to bring me brownies, if I moved in somewhere, like, I would accept the brownies as a nice gesture. But honestly, I'm probably not going to eat them because I don't know what ingredients are in them. I don't know if there's something that I can't eat in them.
Yeah, well, I think probably the big thing there is they may even have dietary restrictions. Yeah. And if they, are, vegetarian or maybe even vegan, you don't know if they can even eat that. And maybe that just they didn't want to be rude and ask you what was in it, or maybe they're just very uncomfortable by those kinds of traditions.
Yeah, and then the dog incident. So I know that you think your dog is the sweetest dog in the world, but to strangers, your dog, they don't know your dog. I do not like being jumped on by dogs, even friendly, nice dogs. I don't like it. I was chased by dogs as a kid. And so even when I know a dog is nice and friendly and everything, it still freaks me out a little bit and makes me uncomfortable. And so you don't know what kind of experiences these people have had with dogs before. So it is your responsibility as the owner of the dog to make sure that the dog doesn't jump on someone. And it is not okay for you to dismiss that. I understand that it was very distressing also because he was threatening to do things to call the police and to have your dog put down, and that is upsetting.
Yeah, so I think my big takeaway from this is think about this from your neighbors' perspectives. They're new people to this neighborhood. They just moved here. Then out of the blue one day, your neighbor has a dog jump on them. They're distressed. They don't know if this dog is going to bite them or not. They don't know if this dog is going to, harm them. They don't know if it's going to harm their children. And then the next day, their house gets egged and caked. They were minding their own business. They weren't harming anyone. What your children did was literally wrong. You are allowing your kids to get away with egging your neighbor's house. this is completely unacceptable and completely unneighborly. Any kind gestures that you attempted to bring forth has been completely, like, nullified. Like, it doesn't matter at this point in time. You need to get your kids and any of those miscreants that were involved with this, and they need to go, and they need to clean up the neighbor's house, and they need to all be grounded. Plain and simple. There's no room for negotiation here. They need to confess to this, and they need to serve the repercussions for it. They need to clean their neighbor's house. I don't think you made a good decision here. So that's kind of my point of view there.
Yeah, and just one last thing, like, even if you think that they've been rude to you, it's still important to teach your kids not to egg people's houses. So it's important that there are some consequences for doing something that's not very nice.
Our last letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Inviting My Partner for Christmas? I'm a 25-year-old female, and I've been dating my partner, a 27-year-old male, for around a year and a half. Things are going well, with one caveat. I grew up in a very Christian household. I am also Christian, and my parents strongly want me to date another Christian, even though they are respectful of my non-religious boyfriend. For various reasons, I've personally made this decision not to limit the dating pool to the same religion as me. This obviously causes some tension when it comes to issues like adults' fun time and us taking trips together, etc. I've gotten used to the pressure and doubts my parents has put on my relationship, but it also gets tiring to have to do this. Each time he comes over, my parents try to bring him to church and invite him to the family prayer meetings. My mom, who's more conservative, rarely asks about him or how he's doing during the pandemic, even though she's nice to him when they meet. They have met my partner 4 to 5 times, and he will be over for Thanksgiving, since his family lives in another country. But because of the pandemic, he plans to travel back to his home country, though, and he's hoping that he could spend Christmas with me. Because Christmas is a religious holiday to my family, I was looking forward to being alone, but now I'm wondering, am I the jerk for not trying harder to make my partner included in my family and leaving him alone for Christmas? Sometimes I wonder if it's worth it to put up all this effort to date who I want to, knowing that they'll never click with my family in the same way someone who shares my religion. But then I push through and also try to remember that I should be standing up for my partner and my relationship. If you've decided to actively not limit your dating pool to Christians, then you're going to have to expect that they're going to have their own traditions and their own ways of, dealing with Christmas and other religious holidays or other holidays that you consider religious. So as for your partner, what is going to happen in, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? Are you going to continue to not invite him to Christmas? Are you going to continue to try not making him part of this? I think that's really short-sighted. I think that if you take your partner and don't invite him now, you're just kind of opening up the door for not inviting him later, and you're going to kind of push him further away. I'm going to kind of circle back to the whole talking about when he comes over and they try to bring him to church and the prayer meetings and stuff like that. He is able to decide whether he wants to do those or not. And I think it's fine for your parents to offer for him to do those things as long as they're not badgering him about it. If he comes over and they're like, hey, do you want to come over? And do you want to go to the prayer meeting or do you want to go to church? And he declines politely, then that's fine. Let him decide how much pressure he's willing to deal with when it comes to these religious things. And if this ends up being a deal breaker for you because you don't share the same religious values as he does, then that's something that you're going to have to learn sooner than later. And it would be better for you to know that now than to find out in, 5 years after not inviting him over for 5 years worth of Christmases.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you had to say. I mean, kind of the purpose of dating with the idea that maybe someday you'll get married is your partner will then become your family. So, and they won't replace your biological family, but they will be a part of your family. And so if you really see yourself having a future with this person, it's a good idea to incorporate them earlier than later and to treat them like family. So your parents are not going to change, at least not soon or easily, it sounds like. If you continue to date this person, you're going to continue to butt heads with them a little bit on that front. So you have to make a choice. What matters to you more? Your relationship with your partner or appeasing your parents? And if this person really matters to you, then the right choice is to include them and to make sure they feel happy and comfortable at the holiday and included as much as they want to be.
All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to Amber for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And hopefully you enjoyed this video. We'll be returning back to the normal format tomorrow, so let me know if you enjoyed having Amber on, and give her a big shout out in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.